as the country starts to reopen, we're seeing more and more businesses reopen across the nation, and a lot of businesses getting ready to reopen in some cases partially or all the way, a whole bunch of stuff like that going on. I thought it would be important to spend a little bit of time talking about what do we need to think about in whatever organization we have, whatever business we have, to whatever degree we've been shut down, either 100%, partially, to whatever degree that might mean, or even if we've been open the whole time, but now what does it look like going forward? So this notion of reopening our businesses, I wanted to just talk about this idea from a perspective of the customer experience and your staff or employee experience. I think one of the things that we find is happening more and more is businesses and organizations across the country are zeroing in on what I call tactics. What are the things we need to do to get ready to reopen or to open in a different way? All the lists of things to do, whether it's different hand sanitizing stations, cleaning stations, cleaning protocols, new expectations around social distancing or the physical space we have between where people work. We've got all those things. It's signage and it might be plexiglass shields that we're hanging up in different areas. There's a laundry list of items, and I'm finding a lot of businesses are really zeroed in on that, and that's great, and that's important. And that certainly plays a huge part in both the staff and the customer experience. There's a part of this, though, I think that we may be forgetting about or not paying as much attention to, and that is the people, both from the customer and from our employer staff, their experience, their expectations. One of the things that I think we need to be more mindful of is balancing this notion of empathy, understanding, and productivity. As I talked about with productivity, we've got the laundry list of checklists, the things we need to get done, right? We have Excel spreadsheets and we have all sorts of charts and things of to-do lists. What I don't see on a lot of those to-do lists, though, are people and focusing on people and what do they need, especially in a time of heightened or maybe even hyper emotionality or heightened or hyper sensitivity. There's a lot of people that the emotions are running high, and there's a lot of folks that are more sensitive, and that's growing. And so how can we be more mindful and aware and understanding where those people are coming from? And that's through empathy, which means how do we listen better? Pay attention. Are we asking our employees, the staff, are we asking our customers, what are their expectations? What are their fears? What can we do to help make their returning or reopening experience healthy and positive and meaningful for them? How can we support them, whether it is, again, masks or no masks? I've seen it where some businesses are saying the only way you can come in is if you wear a mask. I've seen others saying you don't need to wear one at all, and I've seen some saying we encourage you to, but it's your preference. There's lots of options around all of these things. What are we doing, though, to be mindful of our customers and mindful of our employees and the experiences they're going through? For example, I think about our employees as they start to return to work or return to working maybe in the building as opposed to working from home. And yet we have kids, right? And the kids are at home, and what are they doing? Maybe a lot of what they had planned for childcare, maybe with summer camps or whatever, they're canceled. And so how are we helping our employees or working with our employees to help meet those needs or be sensitive to those needs? I saw some research come out recently that it looks like that upwards of 2/3 of managers and employees are generally going to see that their ability or need to work from home is going to continue long term, maybe even permanently. The world is changing around us, and again, whether we like it, don't like it, we think it's good or bad, those are great discussions to have. The reality is it is happening, and it is different. And how are we being mindful? So one of the themes I want to share with you today is how can we be proactive versus reactive? There's a statement I love to make, and it's this: I'd rather have something and not need it than to need it and not have it. In other words, I would rather have all of us as leaders and organizations be prepared for things that will never happen than to have things happen that we're not prepared for. So be over prepared. Think about, from the moment that customer drives into your parking lot, what's their experience like? From the moment they open the front door, what's that experience like? as they go about your business, whether it's a retail store or an office building. And think about that for the sake of your employees too. As they return, how does that happen? Some are feeling more or less comfortable. Some are feeling more or less safe. Some are in maybe more vulnerable types of populations that work in your places. So how can we show empathy, understand it from other people's perspectives? I certainly have my own opinion and my own perspective on how I would like things to happen, or how I see a lot of what's been happening. Today, though, that's irrelevant. Where it's relevant is, what about the customers I serve? What about the employees I serve? What's their experience? Where are they coming from? How are they feeling? How can I better meet their needs and support them so that they can be crazy successful and not worry so much about my own wants and needs, but to focus on others? I hope that gives us some food for thought as we look to reopen, be mindful of others, show empathy and understanding, pay attention to listen and observe to what's happening, and be proactive versus reactive. Again, be prepared and not have the need for what you prepared for than to have something happen that you weren't prepared for at all.